I wrote an article once called, "If You're Too Busy to Read, You're Too Busy." I thought it was quite clever, but I got a call a few days later from one of our clients who is the regional head of a private bank. And she asked if we could have coffee. And I went in to meet with her and she said, Keith, I read your article, but I'm not a reader. And it made me feel incredibly guilty because I clearly don't read enough. And as we discussed the nature of the problem, because I really do believe that leaders need to read, and discussed her particular challenge around reading, the question was asked, well, is there anybody in your team who are readers? Oh, yes, she said immediately, my PA and this private banker and that. And she named 4 or 5 people straight off the bat who she knew loved reading. And we hatched the idea to start a book club. I said, why don't we get people in your business who love to read, reading on behalf of the business? Let's get some quality books from which they can choose, give them time and space as a book club does to go and read on behalf of the business. And what we decided to do was that the book club would meet once a month at a nearby nursery, a cup of coffee and a muffin's not going to be a game breaker from an expense point of view. A couple of hours out the diary once a month was also quite acceptable. And they had to, in reading a book, create a digital summary, which meant others could access that digital summary. Every month, the book club voted on the best idea to come out of the book club that would then get represented to the exco. I said to the team leader, the regional head, all you then need to do is in your exco agenda, create an item book club. She said, how much time should I give it? I said, well, let's just give it 10 minutes to start with and see where it goes. But be sure you don't kill every idea that gets represented with, we don't have the budget or we've tried this, because if you do that, you'll probably kill the goose that will lay the golden egg. Anyway, a long story short, it exceeded beyond our wildest expectations. The exco started to get seeded with really good ideas from the book club. The book club itself was an amazing experience because it brought together people across the hierarchy. That often doesn't happen in a big organization. And they were drawn together simply by their love of reading. It also created the opportunity to upskill people with presentation skills. When you've only got 10 minutes to get across a big idea, how best to do that? Some people actually were terrified to go and represent their idea in front of the exco, which again was news for the exco. Most excos think that they're very approachable, nice people. And of course, most of them are nice people, but leaders often forget how intimidating they can be. And so we had to create a buddy-buddy system. If somebody whose idea was nominated as the best idea, they had to be the representation of that idea. And so we created a backup buddy-buddy system. It ended up spawning a whole lot of other book clubs. Maybe it was just an excuse to get out the business and have a coffee and a muffin once a month. I don't know. But the whole business started thinking and reading on behalf of the business. That 10 minutes ended up becoming the better part of an hour and a half and sometimes longer, and became the key agenda item in that exco's meeting. So if you're too busy to read, maybe you start a book club. But I want to challenge leaders. Leaders need to read, even if it's for 10 minutes every day. One other quick story. I remember CEO saying, I hear this and I'm going to do it. But he said, I don't have much time. I said, well, how much time do you have? He said, well, I think I can probably read for 10 minutes every day. And I said to him, well, if you do that, leave the book on the desk. And he came back to me with this story some months later after embracing this experiment. He said, one day I was reading, feeling incredibly guilty. One of my team members came through the door and started to say, I know you're busy, sorry to interrupt, and then saw I was reading, he said. And his next sentence was, oh, I see you've got some time. And with that, walked into my office. He sat down and proceeded to tell me his problem. The CEO couldn't get that out of his head. And he realized that he had a problem in his organization. If people thought that reading was something you did because you had time or just on the side, it was a problem. And why is it a problem? Because, well, if you want to be adaptive, a part of what it takes to build adaptive intelligence is the ability to invite learning. Now, of course, there are many ways we can learn, but reading is a primary source of inviting that learning. And so the ability to be adaptively intelligent means that we need to invite learning, and reading is certainly a major tool in order to do that. I'm Keith Coates, Director of Storytelling at Tomorrow Today Global. And if you'd like to know more about adaptive intelligence or how to get your own team reading, please contact us at keith@tomorrowtodayglobal.com.